producer. He's an associate producer.
Sorry. Deputy associate producer, yes. Do you want to say?
Alright, so wonderful. I'm from Ranker/Total Nerd. It's a social media. And so my question is, so especially with Lifetime and especially with Melissa, you guys, horror does not, spring to mind when I think of those two things together. So what kind of made you guys want to do a horror thing, especially that Lifetime would then allow you to do such like a scary movie?
It's not horror considering what is considered horror today. I think it's more gothic thriller, much in the way that the others is gothic thriller. It's not, nobody's head's getting chopped off. We're not squirting blood anywhere. It is much more a ghost story than it is real horror. We're not big horror fans. I mean, Sabrina was really light and fluffy, and that's kind of what we're known for. But this is scary without being grotesque. Scott, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'm a big horror fan, but one of the things that attracted me to this project, I mean, I'd seen the original movie, was it was the kind of horror that I understood to be horror when I grew up with the Hammer horror movies in the 60s and the 70s, I mean, before Leatherface and Jason and things became splatter, and that's a whole other planet. But just a good gothic tale, well told. A couple of years ago, I did an adaptation of Rosemary's Baby for NBC. And to me, the master of that was the man who wrote the novel, probably a name not probably very familiar to you, a man named Ira Levin, who also wrote Stepford Wives. And he was the master of the horror of the mind. And that's really what this is. It's shifting reality, what's real, what's not real. And that's why this is scary. But I think certainly found a home with Lifetime because it's really about what's to be believed, what's not to be believed, and the suspense is really in what's not seen and more than what's seen.
That's funny to say that from a writing perspective, because as a director, I watched a lot of Hitchcock, because Hitchcock liked to do the same. He just loved to scare people. He loved to tell stories, and he loved to tell stories that freaked people out. And so, especially The Birds was something I watched over and over again while making this.
So, I'm Ash from nerdappropriate.com. My question is, I recently read that there was, in the original version got pulled from theaters and then re-released. I was wondering if you guys had seen the original version and if you incorporated any elements of the original version that was pulled from theaters into the new version.
Well, the original version was just, it was actually, I think, on a disc set. I think they actually released it in some way, like on a DVD somewhere.
Had three endings.
Yeah, and yeah, they pulled it after, like, I think it was in the theaters for 2 weeks, and it got bad reviews, so they pulled it and reshot it, and I think they used 3 different directors. And the first one I think had some sort of an alien puppet, and I think it didn't go over well, and so then they took the alien puppet out, and
No, they sent her to the spaceship.
Oh, the first one they sent her to the spaceship. Then they had the puppet.
Yes.
Giant, like, weird looking puppet. And then I think that didn't play well, and so then they ended up using like light and seance and stuff like that.
Which is much creepier.
But the original book, actually, I mean, we didn't really, we tapped into some of these things, and like, I liked to use the book after I read Scott's version, then went to the book and looked at the book and to see what things I could pull, just slight things, just little things. Like I was saying before, like Ellie in the book is scratching her knee and picking at a scab the whole time. We never really saw her from the waist down very much, so it was hard to do that kind of thing. But like little things throughout. Like in the original book, there's a tree, and so the tree was important, I think, in this version, which isn't really in the original movie. But as far as the original movie goes, I was a huge fan of it as a child, and had watched it so many times that I had certain parts ingrained into me, and didn't want to go back and rewatch the movie until I knew we had our movie set and how we were going to do it. And then once we had the script and we were ready to go, and we did pre-production, we did location scouting and everything, my son and I, who was 10 at the time, sat down and watched the original together a few days before we started production, just because I wanted to see what his perspective was, what was important to him, what was scary to him, what worked for him. But I didn't want it to taint my version of what we were doing either. You know, I really wanted to have my own standalone version with the memory of the movie that I loved as a child.
Thank you.
Kelly Bedard from myentertainmentworld.ca. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about casting. How did you decide which actors to approach, and anyone you found in an audition process? What was it about the first time you saw them that you thought that works for this character in this particular property?
Well, for someone like Miss Zalewood, Angelica's role, that was a wish list of actresses that we wanted to get, and that Mom wanted to get, and Angelica was top
She
of
was
our
at the
list.
top of the
So
list.
when she said yes, that was like done. All right,
Yeah,
we got Miss Zalewood.
I thought that she would be a really interesting embodiment of character, because she's a little different than the character that Bette Davis plays. I felt that Angelica was really, there was something appealing about her. She was more vulnerable, I think, than Bette Davis is in the original. And then the others, everybody else was auditioned, everybody was cast. But in the UK, where we shot this, even the people speaking in American accents are British citizens. I mean, everybody auditioned, but we got amazing actors. Di Botcher, who was,
I mean, even some of the smaller roles, or people are famous
from
faces
Downton Abbey and Doctor
yeah.
Who, and all very famous UK actors. When
There was an amazing talent pool to pull from, and we kind of had a hard time picking just one person for each role. Like, Ellie Bamber was someone we looked at for Jan, but Tallulah, I think Tallulah is just, who plays Jan, is, I mean, her and Nick, who played Mark.
Nick Galatine is an amazing actor.
Yeah, he's just
so-
been working
and
nonstop since, and
as soon as I saw him, I said, all teenage girls are gonna fall in love with him, because he is
she
just-
insisted on Nick.
I thought he was, that's the cutest
And
thing ever.
Tallulah is like, she should play
Well,
Jennifer Lawrence.
she
in
looks like Jennifer
Lawrence's
Lawrence.
movie. But she's just incredible. The two of them are gonna go on to do amazing things, and we're gonna say, we gave them their first.
Okay, my English is not good, but how have, or your,
Do you want me to read it?
yeah, please.
Okay. How have you taken on the challenge of being a director and producer in an era that has been linked to so many technological changes and where the public is becoming more demanding?
Well, that's you know, audiences are much more sophisticated these days. They're used to seeing a lot of different things. One of the devices that we used, and stop me if I repeat myself, because I feel like I'm answering along the same line sometimes today with the panel and everything. But you know, there's the device of the original movie of using the watcher's POV to frighten you, to confuse you, to not know who's watching us, what's going on here. When I watched it again with my son, my 10-year-old, he was freaked out by that element, and that's been used a lot. I mean, most famously, I think, in Jaws is the one I can think of, but like, you know, that just gets used a lot. And these days, I don't know if that's that scary anymore, but watching it with my 10-year-old, and he just kept, every time the POV happens of the watcher, he's just grabbing onto me and going, who is that? Who are we? Why are we watching? What's going on? And it would freak him out, and I was like, this still works. So we just sort of aged it up a little bit, used it in, you know, particular areas, added some of the wind stuff, and gave it a little more grittiness, and I got to use a drone, which made it sort of a little bit more.
Drone was a lot of fun. That's something brand new to us.
Well, because you get to really, like, we got to bring the drone all the way back from the back of the house, fly it over the house, and then up to the window and look at them in the window. So it was really cool to be able to use it flying like a ghost, like an angel, like, you know.
Looking right in the windows. You know, you have an operator, one operates a drone and one operates a camera, and you have this drone flying into the window and just actually looking in the window. We could
Just
get
gives it
footage of
that
that. It's
new,
really cool.
sort of more modern technology feel. And I mean, at the end, actually, because we did have to cut it quite a bit from the original, the end of the movie, I wanted the credits to play over. We have the drone pulls away at the very end and goes up out of the woods, and we were surrounded. I mean, we were in like acres and acres of woods, and the drone just starts spinning and like looking at the woods and looking all around at this dense forest, and you can't see the cast anymore below and whatnot. And I wanted the whole credit to play on that, but
Unfortunately,
I couldn't do that. It's too long.
R.C. Semo with Fanboy Nation. This is another adaptation. There was a movie and then there was the original book. How do you try to stay as true to the original as possible without deviating from the author's original version? And you said you had let your son watch the original movie. Have you let him watch this version?
Do you want to take the first part of the question?
Well, there was repeating myself. Or maybe it's the previous group. When I first was brought on the project, I remembered watching it as a boy in the theaters. I wasn't quite aware of the cult following that it had, so I was aware that I was going to be adapting or reimagining something that was very special to people. And so my first thought was to keep the soul and spirit, if you will, pun intended, of the story intact, and yet bring it up to modern sensibilities. I mean, my daughter at 14 knows a lot more about what's coming down the line in a story than I did when I was 14. So it was a matter of building in the mystery of who the Watcher is, what they are, who they are, and that is different from the book and the original. What is the same is, quite frankly, the tone. That we've gone to another place where the normal rules don't apply. It's a gothic ghost story, and we're not going to see any gratuitous blood. What we're going to do is we're going to stay true to the suspense of the piece, and that I think was very, very much a part of even the original movie and certainly the book. And the book, one of the things that I think Melissa has touched on was I felt very much that in the book, even more than the 1980 movie, the woods were alive. And I wanted to be very, very true to that.
Yeah, that's true. The first movie, it felt, I mean, it was The Watcher in the Woods because the woods were there, but this one really feels like, because there was like, this one has, we are in the woods for so much of it. I think the first movie, they sort of run through them, but like, it doesn't feel like they're really like in the forest like this one does.
Ours is a living, breathing creature. The woods is scary in itself, and I think we make it even scarier. Knowing that there's something in there, but we're not quite sure what it is.
But this one this is a ghost story. This is not a sci-fi. Like the first book and the movie, what was confusing I think about them was that it went sci-fi and.
But it doesn't go sci-fi till the end.
It doesn't go sci-fi till the end. It didn't really make a lot of sense, which is why they had so many endings, I think. So I think what Scott was brilliant at doing was making it clear who's watching them and what he wants. It wants.
Whoever they
Well,
might
and it's
be.
been there. This story, in our incarnation of it, this story has been alive since the 1300s. That something happened there, and therefore these woods are haunted or a character in itself. So nobody goes in the woods. That's our whole thing: is that nobody ever goes in these woods. And why not? Because people disappear. And where do they go? So that's what our story really gets to: is that there's something there, we don't know what it is. It's not like something just happened there 10 years ago, like in the original, I don't remember how many years it was, 20 something. Ours goes way back, something happened a long
When we
time
got
ago.
back from production, Andrew had said something about, have you seen this Stranger Things? And so then I started binge watching Stranger Things, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, there's a similarity between Watcher in the Woods, the new one, and Stranger Things.
Our story was there first.
I'm Rafael. I'm Chino Magazines and Norwegian Movie Magazine. This is for everyone, especially Melissa. You have been doing quite a lot of producing work now. What is it about producing and directing that appeals to you that you like doing?
Well, when I was 17, 18, and Clarissa, my first show, Clarissa Explains It All, ended, this one to my left didn't want me doing every job that came my way. You know, she wanted to protect me as far as the audience I had built on Clarissa and Nickelodeon, and the kind of roles that I was going to take. And so she started our production company, and it mainly started with Sabrina. And so she found the comic book from the Archies, and she turned it into a movie, spun it off to a TV show. What is it, 163 episodes, 3 TV movies, an animated series, a book collection,
Video games.
franchise, you know. And so on Sabrina, I had the opportunity, because that was such an interesting production. It was one of the first hybrid shows, really. We shot film, 3-camera film, with no audience, but it was a comedy. So it was this weird hybrid that now they do a lot, but at the time it was really rare. But because of the effects we had and whatnot, so I started directing. I was producing it.
But by producing, it gives us control over the things that Melissa does. So
Then I have a true voice. I'm not just an actor for hire that stands there and gets told what to do by the director, by the producer, I've been on sets before where I'm not the producer, and I've had a fight about earmuffs. That was like the stupidest fight ever. I had a massive head cold. I was ice skating, so you can easily figure out what movie it was if you've ever seen the scene with me ice skating. And I
not an ice
was
skater.
I was going to, I was afraid I was going to get an ear infection and have to cancel production. And I was really sick, and I just thought it was cute, little fuzzy earmuffs. I was like, I should wear earmuffs. And the producer came on set, and she goes, you can't wear earmuffs. They look stupid. And I was like, I'm wearing the earmuffs because A, I'm going to get sick. B, they're cute, and see, I had like crazy huge perm in this movie too, so like, what do you care what I look like? I'm gonna wear the earmuffs, and we got this huge fight about the earmuffs. So ever since then, I've been no, I've been producing. No, but it's tough sometimes because you have no, you have no
a
ground to
voice.
stand on a lot if you're not a producer.
And that's why we partner a lot on whatever, so that I can be the voice too. I can be the bad guy, you know, because I'll go up to a director and say, no, I don't think that's going to work here. We need to do it this way.
But she's not always on my side. There were times in Sabrina when I wanted to do my own stunts and she refused to let me.
I can't let my star do her own stunts. What if she gets hurt? You can't do that. No, there are times, we don't always get along, but for the most part, we do okay. We've been partners for 37
Well,
years.
who do you trust
so
more
it's
than
okay.
your mom? You know, I mean, like, who do you know, you're gonna have big, all-out, drag-out fights. SantaCon, we had some good ones. That was fun. I was directing that, and yeah, she freaked out at me a few times, publicly. And, but you know, but then you work through it, and you know, someone's got to be right, and then you say sorry and you move on.
Jasmine with that hashtag show. Melissa, are you in any future talks with CW for projects?
CW.
The
Are they-
CW.
Are they around anymore? CW? No. No. But if you guys follow my Instagram, we do have some big things coming up pretty soon. So can't say anything now. If you follow my Instagram, you'll.
Are you talking about
Stuff
like
soon.
Riverdale or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
Riverdale. No, not Riverdale.
We're not connected with Archie Comics or anything
It would be
in that line.
awesome if you
No.
Not any longer. No.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't even know. See, I'm thinking of WB. I'm like, WB doesn't
Oh,
exist
yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
That's what doesn't exist anymore.
The other two-letter network.
But no,
Some
there are
things are
other
saying-
projects perhaps, but it will be a Sabrina reboot.
Okay.
We no longer have the rights and that's gone away.
I think she's probably going to be on Riverdale. So
That's the rumor.
Yes.
and
yeah.
so-
Yeah, it's not.
Well, they'd be foolish
It'll
not
be some
to.
hot. Yeah, are you kidding? It's gonna be like Bella Thorne. It's not gonna be me.
But even as producer or director, that would be amazing if you were able to like control your character.
For some reason,
But
they no
it's not
longer
our-
want us to
It's not our
attach.
character anymore.
Okay.
It'll
No,
be a
it's-
very different Sabrina.
Well, if you've seen the new comic, I just happened to be in a grocery store the other day where I saw a comic book because I was trying to find something for my son to read for camp, and I was like, oh, maybe there are comics. And Sabrina she's a sex pot now. Like it's totally different. She's Miley Cyrus. It's not Sabrina like she was. So.
And we do have to wrap there. Thank you guys
Oh,
so
sorry. Can we just
much.
get one more quick? We'll answer quick.
Sorry, guys. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
not
sorry.
with comics after. It's okay. My question is during your guys' panel, you were talking about an attic scene where you had to cut out a lot of stuff. Can you tell us now what were some of the things you had to cut out?
Oh, well, that scene, the attic scene specifically, was one of my, it's heartbreak, but it was
It was a very big,
it was a very
shot.
long scene with a push in on the camera, and this girl is looking through the attic, and
It's
I had
Karen.
all this yeah, Karen is there, and she's looking through the attic, and I had like this rocking horse that rocked by itself, and we had the lights go on, and like dust blowing around, and something falls, and a music box plays, and like this huge and now it's like. Now it's like 10 seconds, and it was like a minute
Now
and a half.
she finds a book.
She
It's
finds a
like,
book,
okay.
pulls the
It
dust
gets
off,
right
goes,
to the
oh, I got
point,
it, and
basically.
leaves. Yeah. So unfortunately, it's not as dramatic.
It's not
as
as
it would've liked to
cinematic
have been.
either. It was really beautiful, but
Yeah, in
Some
a
things have to
long
go.
form movie, it would, you know, if it was playing in the theaters, it would be there. But there were some ththings we had to cut some corners just for timing and whatnot.
So if it maybe goes to directly to Blu-ray, do you think you'll
If
be able
there's
to
a
do a director's cut?
DVD, can we talk about that?
yeah, we would do another.
Yeah,
version.
I'd have
Absolutely.
director's cut
We had
for
actually,
sure.
when Andrew was doing all the post-production, because he was in charge of all our post, we talked about doing a longer version. Which
We have
we actually
my
have
director's
the,
cut saved.
We
right?
have it saved, but we
But-
just
And
haven't.
we have the scenes that were cut too, so you could also have the scenes on the side.
How long is the one now? Is it 98?
No, it's 86 minutes.
So it was 98. It was 98 minutes long originally, so.
Yeah,
So
we
we've cut
about-
12 minutes
yeah, so
out,
it's about
which
10
is a
10,
lot.
12 minutes.
But we'll
It's hard to
remix
find
it.
30 seconds to cut out, let alone 12 minutes.
Yeah, a lot of things it was sad to see.